Oh, welcome to Thursday Night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN, the VPN that can be used on 10 different devices, Keith. 10 different devices with just one account. What do you think of that?
Can it?
There you go.
No, what I said to you the other day about some of these adverts that grind on you that much that you would never actually buy the product.
I'm trying to freshen it up a bit. I'm trying to keep it original.
Well, I've got a new one to my list that I got today. So you've got the all clear travel insurance ads, right? Never buying that. Very sure burglar alarm system. That's not getting bought. My new one today is I think simplicity cremation.
Nice and cheery.
I'll burn in hell before I buy their product off them, I tell you that.
That's the
But the advert's terrible. Just saying.
Yeah.
Mick, how's it going?
I'm sorry.
Oh dear. No, how you doing, guys? I'm good. As you know, that I'm always living in perpetual fear that I get myself cancelled on this show. But I just watched the news and seen Donald Trump making a Pearl Harbor joke in front of the Japanese Prime Minister.
Oh no, did he?
I think we're all right. I mean, I don't think you can top that.
Did he really?
He just said he was asked by a journalist why he didn't tell his allies about the attack on Iran. And he says, well, it's not a surprise. And you Japanese know all about that, don't you? With Pearl Harbor. Okay.
No.
The whole room, the whole Oval Office. So
it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
So no matter what I do, I can't top that one. So
that's true. We'll give it a good go though, Mick. We'll really try.
I usually try, Daniel. So don't be have your finger on that block button at some point.
Well, that's us covered advertising and current affairs. What's your view in the Third World War, Mick? You enjoying it this so far?
Well, I filled up my car. I got to Edinburgh to see Derek McCann this morning. I put some petrol in the car, I put some diesel in, and I got a bit of fright. So I'm definitely not back in this campaign in Iran. Jeez, oh. £1.72 a litre of diesel.
My girlfriend denies this, but she asked me, "Oh, what's going on?" And I said, "Oh, it's Iran." She went, "This is brutal. We've just started doing well, and Trump starts World War IV."
Well,
I said, "Talk me through 3," and she was, "Was that Spain? No, Spain." Anyway, so there you go. Shall we talk about football?
Yeah. Before we start concentrating on how much Manjaro's going up by for
I'm your man for
the shipping crisis.
I'm your man for that.
Oh, jeez, man. Right, come on, let's do it.
Singing the blues in the comments says Trump's the Michael Gannon of politics.
I'm not sure that's a compliment.
I was going to say, take that as
it's
you.
Not.
It's not.
No.
Believe me, Mick, it's not.
He also says it serves you right for driving a diesel. There you go. Thanks for that. The comments are coming in already. They're brilliant. Keith, Barry Ferguson, his column tomorrow. Always like Barry's column. He's been on the show, obviously. He's kind of going in on Russell Martin a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's part of a bigger sort of a read. It's a real good column, actually. I enjoyed it. I had to read it earlier on. But yeah, there is a part of it where he refers to, obviously, Barry, like everybody else, heard Russell Martin on the radio the other day, Radio 5 Live. He was on for a couple of hours, didn't take responsibility for much at any point during it, blamed a lot of people rather than himself, really. Occasionally kind of said that he might have kind of had to take the blame because he's the manager, but it all felt a bit begrudged, to be honest. But I think at one point in the thing, he did say that if he could have his time again, he maybe wouldn't have made so many changes so soon. I think he was talking mostly about personnel changes and losing players that were big contributors. But Barry's point is, bear in mind that Barry was in charge going into that summer. And I think the point he makes in the column is, look, this was never rocket science. You had two players in particular, in Vaclav Černý and Cyril Dessers, and he said if he'd stayed, he would have moved heaven and earth to make sure that these two players were part of things for the coming season. And he makes a very good point, because it's 47 goals the pair of them combined to contribute last season. And Barry's point is, well, look, if you're going to take 47 goals out your dressing room, any manager, whether it's Russell Martin or anybody else, is going to have a massive problem finding replacements for that and getting that return back. I think it's a very fair point.
Aye.
And I'm actually damn sure if Cyril Dessers, despite all his many critics, and Barry Ferguson said that he loved working with Cyril Dessers, loved his attitude, loved everything about him, except that, you would need to put up with a kind of not the conversion rate that you might hope for, but the guy's going to weigh in with 29 goals over the course of a season. Now, if Rangers could add that kind of number into what they've got from this season, where do you think they'd be right now?
Yeah. I remember Mick.
Probably not in third place.
I remember Mick, you've been very vocal about the fact that why is everyone getting on top of this? Dessers, he scores goals. I mean, Dessers is one, but I mean, Cherny, criminal not to get him back, I would say. But Dessers as well, I guess.
Listen, the poor old Cyril would walk into both Celtic and Rangers this season. I mean, every week we'd walk into the two teams this year because both of them have been lacking a goal scoring number 9, a poacher. Listen, he missed his fair share of chances in big games. That's why he was kind of pillared. But I think by the end, people are going to recognise he was a worthwhile guy to have in the books. So yeah, it
when you think, Mick, about the money that Rangers spent, so they got three and a bit back for Dessers, who went to Olympiacos.
I think not. There wasn't too many tears when he left, right? Because I think most Rangers fans thought, you know what, he scored a few goals, but we could do with something better. So they got the money back for a guy who was 30 plus, and you think, well, okay, that's fair enough. They broke even on a guy who's over 30, scored a few goals, didn't really work out, couldn't rely on him in big games. We'll buy better. The problem wasn't really selling Dessers. The problem was not buying better. So listen, we can all rewrite. We can listen. Russell Martin has obviously spent a good few months in the garden leave, and it's been a hard winter doing the garden, right enough. And he's coming back out, and he's doing what every manager does in the same circumstances. He's now trying to kind of do a wee bit of historical kind of restoration, a wee bit of kind of rewriting history, and kind of paint himself in a better light for the next job. I quite like Russell Martin. I liked him as a guy. I liked him as a player with Scotland. We knew him a wee bit. I think as a manager, he's got something about him. There's a wee bit of the kind of modern age kind of buzzword kind of manager as well. But I think he has got a bit about him. He was too much. His job was too much for him. Clearly, I think he'll do a job somewhere. But I think he's just trying to kind of create a wee narrative around himself at how it went to Rangers. And listen, let's be honest, he just was out his depth at that point in time, and mistakes were made all over the shop, which Rangers have had to pay the price for a while. I don't think it's all at his door, but a lot of it was, and Rangers have been playing catch up ever since. So, but I don't think it does much good looking back. I think yeah, the Cherny 100% should have been kept. I don't understand. That was a strange one not going back to get him. Take the money they spent this year. Guys like Gassama, Antman, 4 million quid. Where is he? I mean, where is he?
Cherny ended up going to, was it Besiktas? For 5 million quid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
when everybody was saying towards the end of last season, oh, there's a clause in his contract and it would cost Rangers 8 or 9 or whatever it would have cost. But Barry Ferguson knew the details of the contract and told the club that you'd be able to pick this guy up again for somewhere between 4 and 5 million pounds. It just.
Well, that's what I mean. 4 million quid for Antman, and he did an incredible debut. He looked like a world beater, and he's not kicked the ball since. I know he had a couple of wee injuries and that stuff, but that's 4 million pounds. It looks like it's down the drain. Gassama, I think, has been good in flashes, but he's very much a typical winger that he's very flaky. I don't think the system helps him that much, to be fair to him as well. A bit like Scott Olsen on the other side, doesn't really flatter them, the wingers, this kind of system. But yeah, somebody like Cherny would look like money in the bank, and a wasted opportunity. But it's that ship has sailed, unfortunately, for Rangers.
Yeah.
We're getting plenty of comments in on this issue, and particularly the Kasper Schmeichel saga that keeps brewing in the background. We will come to that, and we'll get some of your comments in. But Keith, you have a theory about the Rangers starting lineup, what they need to do to win the title, I guess. Elaborate.
Yeah. And it's a fairly simple one. They need to drop Youssef Chermiti. Now, Mick's talking there about the system, and it's not maybe suiting the wider players. I think he's absolutely right. Now, I'm curious to discover, and I think we're about to discover, we certainly will do over the next few weeks, has Danny Rowe locked himself into the sort of John Barnes formation, 4-2-2-2? It seems as if he has. It seems as if he's fully committed to it. It seems as if this is the vision that he had in mind. But he has always said that he will be flexible. It does look like that's his preferred lineup for the time being. But I'm looking at it, and I don't think Chermiti is a natural goal scorer, and he's the number 9 in this formation. And it's basically rendered Ryan Nadiri as a hybrid. He's half midfielder, half striker, and he's running about and covering loads of grass, and he's putting a tremendous shift in. But to me, when you first got a glimpse at him, he looks like a far more natural predator. He's got those instincts. His runs are better into the penalty box in terms of where to be at the right time. He just looks as if it comes more naturally to him. But he's spending all his time out of the box in different areas, covering, for example, if Cal McGregor's sitting in the anchor at Celtic's midfield, Nadiri's responsibility is stop it, get him, cover him, run there, do this. I think if Rangers really simplify this, because Chermiti's not going to score you goals. He scored 9 this season so far, 8 of them in the games against Celtic and Rangers. So maybe you do bring him back in for those. But see, for the rest of the time, I think Nadiri deserves the opportunity to show what he could do as the main striker. And I think by leaving him in that hybrid position just now, what they're also doing is sacrificing a really good creative player and potentially in a more advanced area. So for me, I would give it a long, hard thought to dropping Chermiti, playing Nadiri as the number 9, letting him concentrate on doing the penalty box stuff, and then maybe getting Nico Raskin and saying to him, Nico, you might think you're a number 6, but I'm telling you now, you're better, far more productive 20, 30 yards up the pitch. He's got the ability now to bring in Conor Barron to play alongside Chukwueze in the centre of midfield. I would be saying to Nico Raskin, you get further forward, you get joined in, play in and around Nadiri and try and get beyond him, because that's where Raskin, for me, does all his best work. Now, I think if you made those slight changes, also then your wingers are more like wingers. Mikey Moore could play just about anywhere you want. You know, you can ask him to play anywhere along that line and he'll be able to do a job for you. You might get more out of Skov Olsen if he's, just more of a traditional, authentic winger than asking him to come inside. I just think the Rangers would have a much better balance to them. And I think by removing Nadiri from this position where he's doing all the running about and he's doing a lot of leg work and a lot of good hard shift for the team, but he's not doing what a striker needs to do, which is concentrating on making those runs into the box at the right time to get in the end of things and score goals. I think they've blunted him a little bit, and I think he looks far more likely to contribute with goals than Chermiti, even though to this point he's only scored 2 for Rangers and they were both against Queen's Park. So if you look at the stats, maybe that's an argument against what I'm saying. But I do feel if you give him that opportunity, I think you've got a better chance of a return than Rangers do at Chermiti. I think that could be key.
For me, it's a big gamble hanging your hat on Nadiri to be the main man up front when he's only scored 2 goals against Queen's Park. So now you're going to rely on him to be your main goal getter when you don't.
I totally get that, mate.
There's no body of work to suggest that he's capable of doing that yet. He might well be. I look at his natural instincts and the natural runs when he does on the rare occasions right now that he is getting into the penalty box. He looks to me. Rangers had 20 plus attempts in goal at the weekend against the Murn and 8 on target. Did they look like scoring? Really? That much? No. He's there.
And it took a full back to score the goal.
And that's with 2 strikers up front as well. So I think.
But he's not playing up front, Mick. That's my thing.
Well, I think I take your point. I think Danny Rowe is very pragmatic, and I think he does look at what he's got. And I think he worries. You mentioned Raskin and playing further up. Has Raskin got the creativity in that to play that 8-10 role? I'm not sure, because he gives the ball away an awful lot. I think he's a cracking wee player, but he does give the ball away a lot in that position as well. And I think you look at the players in that area, I don't think Rowe trusts them to build the game and pass through that phase. I think that's why he goes so long. And I joked before about him playing like 87. Maybe that's because he doesn't trust the midfield players to do that kind of role. Because there is a distinct lack of creativity coming through the middle of the park for Rangers.
They're just trying to bulldoze teams, Mick. They're trying to bulldoze teams.
They get the ball up very direct. There's a few things happening. I don't think they trust the midfield players to build and create. Apart from Mikey Moore, when he can come inside and do a bit of that. I don't think he trusts his centre backs to build the ball out either. I think he likes them defending. He wants them getting the ball as long away as far as possible. So they end up going very, very long. Balls are dropping. They'll swarm teams and pick up the loose ends. So Grass is great at picking up scraps. That's his best. I think he's great at picking pockets, winning balls, and getting scraps, and getting it elsewhere. The problem for Rangers is where it goes and who's creating. There's not enough creativity. So they're just trying to overwhelm teams with pressure and getting balls and playing the game in the final third. And by and large, it's worked for them. But when you're playing against teams that are doing this kind of sitting deep, low block, whatever you want to call it, there's not a lot of space to operate in those. And by the way, Celtic done it as well. Celtic realised that they weren't going to control the middle of the park anyway, because the ball plus the midfield was getting bypassed, and they just sat in and soaked it up. So where's the creators for Rangers? That's the thing. Where's the creators? And the strikers are the ones carrying the can for missing chances and not scoring goals. But are they getting that many gilt-edged chances? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I think that right now, as the way that he's got this formation with the 4-2-2-2, I think that Nadiri is in the position that you would want a more creative player to be in. And I think if you swap him out, maybe it's Mikey Moore drifts in or whoever, but you allow him to be the penalty box guy, I think they might I think there'll be a better balance to him, because for all that he's prepared to run about and put in a shift and chase people down and win the ball back, I don't think. I think just by having the two big battering rams, there's a sort of a tendency to think that's the ball, long ball, high long ball. Whereas I think if Rangers try to play a little bit more, they might get more joy out of it. I don't know. I just thought it was.
I agree, but it must be
something they might.
No, I totally agree. I think it must be an instruction from the manager. It must be to play that way.
Yeah.
You must be directing them to go kind of long. It must be coming from him.
Mm-hmm. We've got plenty of comments coming in, guys. If you want to get involved, please do so. Partick Thistle, I don't think the actual club account says Raskin gets away without criticism. His overall contribution since he arrived has been underwhelming. The media seem to ignore that. Ian points out that Nadiri's a German third division player. He's still got it all to prove. Singing the Blues wants to know what's in your glass, Keith. Is that tonic wine? I think we need to get to the bottom of that. Coke Zero. There you go. Mark says, why aren't you a manager?
I call it a tonic wine.
Mark wants to know why you're not a manager. You're making it all sound so easy.
Yeah, I've often thought that, Mark.
Aye, me too. Agree. Sing the Blues again says, just tell Chermite he's playing Celtic every week and he'll absolutely scoosh it. Ian says Chermite is the opposite of Boyd, who Walter Smith rightly left out of big games. And on Russell Martin, we've got a few coming in. This one says, Mick's right, Russell Martin will do a job somewhere, but it won't be in football. Again, Martin, as many young managers, have confidence in the tactical nous. However, they lack experience in managing people. Martin O'Neill, however, ... So aye, plenty coming in. Doco here says, both Celtic and Rangers playing players out of form in the hopes they can get a fee for these in the summer and then rebuild. And this one as well, there's a few people here saying that it won't be too long before Kasper Schmeichel as Jimmy says, not too long till Kasper is a pundit on your show. And that brings us quite nicely, I think, to the Kasper Schmeichel saga that I mentioned at the start. He was back on CBS last night, guys. Says he's been feeling the love from fans since he spoke about his injury. That's nice, and that's really lovely.
Well, first things first, we've got an out-of-shape former goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah. Another stray bullet.
That's bang order, isn't it? That is.
So last night I'm driving, or this afternoon, I'm driving back to Edinburgh. I listened to last night's show, trying to catch up with the boys, and I'm catching stray bullets, talking about out-of-shape goalkeeper. And Pompadom
halfway across the M8.
Pompadom hands Mick nearly crashed into the ball on her shoulder. Talking about the short shoulders, then hit her shoulder. So I'm catching the stray bullets again.
I'd be writing an email to HR right now, Mick.
That's it. Poor Kasper getting pelters.
Aye, but all joking aside, this is such a strange way of handling it from everyone. I mean, he was on TV on the Tuesday night. Okay, he was back in telly last night, I mean, silence from Celtic. He doesn't mention Celtic. It's all very peculiar.
He's clearly segueing into his next career move, isn't he? I mean, that's now clear. I mean, he's worked this week in the media. He's obviously now planning for the next phase of his career, which is going to be perhaps with like Joe Hart. Maybe he's looking to follow in the footsteps again of Joe and be a pundit at these games. He's facing a year out, so he's probably wise to be starting thinking about his next career move. It's a bit. The whole story's a bit strange, isn't it? It's
really strange, Matt.
Interesting. I'm at Celtic tomorrow. I'm interested to see. I think Martin O'Neill has been trying to kind of protect him a wee bit this last few weeks and months. But what we need to know is, what did you know? When did you know it? And why was that go on for so long?
It's a difficult one for Martin, Mick, because even remember the picture from the away dressing room at Ibrox comes out, taken in the morning of the Scottish Cup tie. I think it was. Was it the Cup tie or was it the league game?
It was
anyway. Schmeichel's jersey's up in the peg, and then Schmeichel doesn't make the team bus to the game. Martin then comes out and said he was feeling poorly. And since that, everyone's just felt I used a phrase last night, it just hasn't passed the smell test. And I really don't like the way it's been handled in terms of PR. It's completely mishandled. He's not coming out of it great. Celtic aren't coming out of it great. How can it be possible to, the medical department to not know the extent of this injury? And clearly they did, because for all intents and purposes, he was requiring Jags to play in the games, injections. Well, that has to get passed through the medical department. Was Martin O'Neill given a full look at the situation? Was a full appraisal of what this injury looked like and the effect it was having? And also, it's been suggested to me, and it actually makes a bit of sense, if there is a real problem, wear and tear, shoulder injury, regardless of if it's properly diagnosed, if you know that he's struggling with a shoulder injury, it would most likely then have meant that his training regime had to be tailored to accommodate that and factor it in. And that coincided with the bit where people were giving him stick for putting on weight and looking out of shape. So if it's got to the point that the guy's carrying an injury and you've had to train him differently because of it, and it's had an impact on his physical shape, I just don't understand how it was allowed to get to this point. And then for him to make the announcement in an interview with his dad on an American TV channel, when the Celtic fans are sitting here going, what is the story here? Now, I think a lot of Celtic fans are quite happy just because they can move on. They've got a goalkeeper they like the look of in Sinisalo, and they're perfectly happy with that. But it doesn't square the circle in terms of what exactly has been going on with Kasper Schmeichel. And I don't think Martin O'Neill, I don't think there's a lot of respect being shown to him. Martin O'Neill was the guy that was coming out here and having to front us up and saying, "Oh, Kasper's unwell," and that now looks a bit silly. So I'm really interested, Mick, to hear what Martin O'Neill says about it tomorrow. I don't think he'll be entirely happy with the way that this is all played out.
No, but listen, Martin O'Neill, as you know, Keith, don't be fooled by Martin O'Neill's kind of this kind of bumbling uncle routine that he's cultivated this year. Martin O'Neill's been cute about it. He was keeping his cards close to his chest. He does it all the time. Injuries. He doesn't like getting asked about injuries. Doesn't like getting asked about transfers or injuries. So he kind of tries to what he'll do is he'll if you ask a question he doesn't like, he'll slag you off, make a joke in front of you. Like he does it all the time. He'll deflect and distract, and he did a lot of that with Kasper as well. And he's protecting his goalkeeper. I suspect what's happened was he didn't train much last year either. And I think it wasn't every session he was taking part in last year either. And by the way, people forget. Let's not forget. Last year, Schmeichel was terrific up to get injured with Denmark. He was brilliant.
Mate.
I was down. I remember in Munich for the Champions League knockout game, and it was one of the best displays of goalkeeping I've ever seen in my life. He was absolutely incredible that night. Put the shutters up. He was really unlucky at the end as well. Brilliant save, and then scored in the last minute. So from that, obviously he got injured, and he's not been the same since. But maybe I think it looks to me like Kasper Schmeichel's been saying, yeah, I'm struggling, but I'm okay. I can keep going. And he's trying to battle through. I think Martin O'Neill wants his experience in the team, because the team at times this season have lacked experience in players who have been over the course. And it's kind of backfired, because the amount of goals that he's cost. We all knew it. We could see that he was struggling physically. It was obvious.
Yeah.
And it obviously came to a head. But I think it's been badly handled by the player, the club, and the management. There's no escaping it. Between the three of them, they've really not handled this well at all. And the decision made was to come out the team was too long. I mean, it's cost Celtic numerous goals in numerous games. It could cost. I mean, as Celtic look back this season and don't win the league, it'll be two of the big decisions will be because they've had goalkeeping issues and striker issues. Those two big positions have let
and Wilfred Nancy.
And obviously we can chuck in the wild, wicked days of Wilfred Nancy, and a few other things, and upsetting Brendan Rodgers, and you name it.
It's been a long season.
There's a list, but I think striker and goalkeeper are pretty much near the top of the list as well. Because if Celtic had a decent striker and a decent goalkeeper all season, I think they're 10 points clear.
Maybe. Well, we've got tons of comments coming in on this, guys. So bear with me a couple of minutes and I'll throw a few of these at you. William Sloan says, I said this last night, forget medical staff, everyone could see the issue. So how did three managers, including Martin O'Neill, miss it? Marzuno says, you guys are so cynical. He just had a wee dicky tummy. Always something says, you can't blame Celtic's medical staff. They don't pick the team. They advise. Rebel says, cost us a treble and a good few points in the SPL and Europa, sadly because of his handicap. Not really forgivable, to be honest, but a nice guy. Doco says he was trying to hold on for the World Cup. The docs at Celtic didn't want to spill the beans for his dream. And Partick says Sutton is right. Management also have to take some of the blame for playing Kasper while injured. John says Kasper's off in a huff after being dropped for the game at Ibrox. And always something says Celtic fans booed Kasper and are more than done with him. I don't think there's any love lost on either side. Glad to see him go before he ships more easy goals. And I've got to say, Keith, it's just my opinion, but I kind of feel like maybe one of the reasons why Kasper hasn't mentioned Celtic on his two-day media tour has been because he is in a wee bit of a huff. Getting booed.
Something's not right.
Getting sarcastically cheered. And I think
something's not right. And I, do you know what? I actually feel quite, in many ways, sympathetic towards him. Because I think he looked at Joe Hart, his pal. I think he saw the way that Joe Hart had a really terrific last chapter of his career at Celtic, and he loved it, and he told Kasper Schmeichel all about it, and Kasper Schmeichel must have looked at the big send-off that Joe Hart got and the banners, and you know, in front of that corner of the ground at Celtic Park with a megaphone, and he was given a hero's send-off, wasn't he? And maybe Kasper Schmeichel had in his mind that I fancy a bit of that. What a way to go! And it's really turned. And Mick's right, and we were saying last night, Daniel, when he was starting getting a bit of stick, I was defending him because for exactly that reason. Some of the saves that he made for Celtic in big moments in big games were absolutely terrific.
Aye.
And for a long period of his first season, I think it was unanimously almost considered that he was actually an upgrade, probably an upgrade on Joe Hart.
I think that's accurate. I think so.
So then this injury thing has happened, and it's gone downhill fast from there, and it's got to this situation. Now I don't know what effect the fans booing him has had on him emotionally. I don't know if that's got anything to do with the fact that when he's been talking about perhaps having to hang up his gloves, he's not even mentioned the fact that he's heartbroken that they might never play for Celtic again in the middle of this title running. These are all things that maybe will come out in the wash at some point. And if he is going to have a high-profile media career, you imagine that they probably will at some point. Somebody will do an interview somewhere and he'll give his version. But I just feel it's been horribly mishandled in terms of the PR. I don't think that Kasper Schmeichel's helped himself in terms of his relationship with the Celtic fans, which had already become quite a frosty one. And, you know, if he is thinking that maybe that's the career next step is to get into covering games and you know, doing punditry, well, do you know what? Joe Hart can get in a plane. Mick, you know this, because you need to travel, independent travel now, and you're in the plane with the punters. Joe Hart will get on a plane full of Celtic punters and he'll not have to buy a drink at the departure lounge, at the other airport, on the plane. Celtic fans love him, they adore him. I think it would be a difficult trip for Kasper Schmeichel, to be perfectly honest, if he was to decide that's what he was going to do next season, and somebody said to him, "Oh, great, you can go and do the Celtic games." I'm not sure that how he would be made to feel on that flight.
Yeah.
In terms of the way that the relationship's turned with the Celtic fans. Maybe it's just in the here and the now, and in 3 months down the line, especially if Celtic end the season with a couple of trophies, Celtic fans will be quick to pat him on the back and say, "Oh, brilliant, you were great." But right now, just everyone feels a little bit fraught.
At this point, yeah. But, listen, you said it yourself. He was sitting on with Roy Keane and Gary Neville in a few months' time. We'll be talking about how great the atmosphere is at Celtic Park and how much he loved it in his first season, and it's tough the second season and all that stuff. And you know what? He'll be all right. He'll be all right. He won't get the big banners and the big send-off that Joe Hart got in his final game. But I think history will be fairly kind to him after his season last season. It's a shame the way it's ended for him. He would have visions of having that big Joe Hart style send-off at some point and going to a World Cup and then probably hang up his gloves. But football doesn't give you those happy endings. No. It's not that works. And you can't force it. And it looks like they've all tried to force it and it's just backfired.
Mick, it does put Martin O'Neill. I mean, Padraig here in the comments is one of a few people saying surely Martin O'Neill's to blame. He would have known about the injury. Schmeichel didn't select Schmeichel to play. I mean, we were saying it in last night's show that I kind of thought, well, maybe he's kind of kept the extent of this injury to himself. He's kept it quiet. But as you said, Keith, he'd been getting jags. He'd been taking painkillers. They'd have been amending his training. They must have known.
That's not that uncommon, but Daniel, that's not that uncommon. Not? Older players not. So it's trust. He's put a lot of trust in Kasper Schmeichel. Because the medical department, listen, remember last year was it Clement was telling folk that the guys were in the red zone and all that. Whereas, I'm pretty sure Martin would ask the medical staff to say, "Shouldn't he playing?" And he was saying to Kasper, "Can you play?" He's like, "Yes, boss, I can play." And he trusts them. He's got a good relationship with them, and he wants that experience in the pitch. Unfortunately, it backfired. I think if he'd known how reliable Sinisalo was going to be, he'd had him in earlier. I think I didn't want to gamble on Sinisalo without knowing he could trust him. Whereas he knew he could trust Schmeichel to an extent. Unfortunately, his body let him down, and it's all got a bit messy. But I think Martin O'Neill in private will think, actually, I chucked him in January. But you live and learn, I guess, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, guys, time's getting away from us, but massive weekend in the Premiership. Obviously, this is our last show ahead of the weekend's games. Hearts at home to Dundee. I know you were there today, Mick, catching up with Derek McInnes. Was he in good form?
He was, yeah, pretty bullish. And obviously, they got beat last week, Kamar. That was a bit of a sore one for them. But big news for Hearts is that he's got Lawrence Shankland back this weekend for the Dundee game, which is absolutely massive. I mean, they've missed Shankland big time. And also Cammy Devlin, who's also been missed. Although I think the performances of Mark Leonard have helped cushion that a bit. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea of Leonard and Devlin together. I think
I love it, Mick. I love it.
I actually think it'll actually let Leonard off the hook, off the leash a bit to go and do what he can do. He's been doing the Cammy Devlin stuff, which isn't really his natural kind of game. With Devlin in doing that dirty stuff, he can go and play football. And then you get Shankland up there as a focal point who can score a goal. I think they two returning negates the negative from last weekend. It almost draws a line under it. And it's like fresh start. These boys are back, and it's all head down for the line. And McInnes, his mood was fine. He was, pretty built. Listen, Hearts have lost 5 games now this season, and the 4 previous times they've bounced back with 3 wins and a draw. So they have been good at responding to defeats this season rather than doubling up on them. So we're hoping that happens again. They have to. They need to beat Dundee this weekend. That's a non-negotiable. We need to win against Dundee, or it will be a big problem.
Do you think they will, Mick?
Yeah, I think they will. I think it's also the day that's the foundation of Hearts kind of day. They're celebrating raising 20 million quid, which is amazing. Right. The job they've done has been terrific. So I think there'll be a good atmosphere, a good crowd. Excuse me. The boys coming back in is a major psychological lift. I think Hearts will be fine. It's just McInnes, he was bullish. He was having a wee pop at Stevie Clark about the boys not getting picked for Scotland, which is cute because obviously you're talking about Halkett, Harry Milne. He's backing his boys. Well, you can argue all day whether he should be in the Scotland squad or not. It's probably Ichi Peachy, but he's like that. I was disappointed they went in. Not surprised. A wee bit, and he says, "Listen, Steve's got his opinion. I don't really agree with it. But Steve's entitled to it. He's a manager. He's done great. Well, all the usual things. But a wee dig. But it's not so much a dig. It's more just backing his own boys. And that keeps them all in the tent as well. So he's you know what he's like. He's a shrewd operator. But I fancy Hearts this weekend to bounce back with a win.
I see that combination you're talking about, the potential combination between Mark Leonard and Cammy Devlin. That's what I was thinking for a while back. When I first saw Mark Leonard coming in and filling that gap, you're thinking he's actually a really clever football player. He looks good. That's a great find. That's a great bit of business. But then your mind starts thinking, could you imagine the two of them pairing up in there?
Mm-hmm.
I think that should excite the Hearts fans, the idea that what these two might do in the centre of the pitch. And then I think, Mick, and this is, I said it, I can't even remember when I said it now, but maybe at the start of the week, in terms of going into this last 8 games, which becomes a bit of a shootout, I can't help but think that Hearts have got the two best strikers, the two most dangerous strikers between the 3 teams that are going to fight this out. And I can't help but imagine if you're a Hearts player and you're looking around inside that dressing room, you're about to go out and play Dundee this weekend, you know what's on the line. See if you're looking about over your left shoulder and you see Lorne Shankland, and then you go over your right shoulder and you see Claudio Braga. You're thinking to yourself, we've got a chance. We've got a real chance today. All we need to do is do our jobs and give them a bit of service, because one of them will score. And I think that must be a brilliant feeling before you're going out into these games that really matter. Whereas if you're in the Celtic dressing room or you're in the Rangers dressing room, I think you're looking about going, who's got to step up today? Where's the goals coming from?
Yeah.
And I know that Celtic have scored. I know that Celtic have scored a lot of goals, and Yang weighed in with a couple, and Nigel's been incredible. I'd get a lot more comfort if I was in that dressing room. I looked about and I saw 2 strikers that I thought, if we just need to get the ball up with them, we just need to give them service. They're guaranteed goals.
Yeah.
And I think that is crucial and could make the difference between now and the end of the season. And I expect Hearts to get a win this weekend, and it wouldn't surprise you at all, by the way, if Lorne Shankland either starts, comes off the bench and gets a goal and just picks up where he left off. That's, I think, what did we say, 31 goals so far between Shankland and Claudio Braga so far this season. That's a hell of a contribution.
And it's not even, you're talking about creating chances with Shankland. You don't need to do that with Shankland. The ball drops.
No, he'll create them for himself.
The ball drops in the box. Who do you want to be snatching onto it? It would be Lorne Shankland. No offence to kind of Kabori and all that stuff, but Shankland's a man. If any loose ball in that box, one hit, he's your man. Yep. It's just a major kind of boost for them, isn't it? I say, even psychologically, after a kind of rough week, after Kilmarnock and a lot of doubts came out sneaking in, it just lifts the mood and it gets them going again, doesn't it? So yeah, it's all set for them.
John in the comments says this assumes Shankland hits the ground running. He's been out injured a good while, but McKenna, the big jump,
8 weeks, he's fine.
McKenna says he's looked sharp in training.
He's only 8 weeks, not coming back 2 stone overweight.
Right. We've got a couple of other comments. One last visit to the comments before we wrap up, guys. Marzuno says Hearts are going to draw, Aberdeen are going to win, they can't lose every match. Celtic easy win. Chick says Hearts are about to nosedive, and you're low him up. It was a big Rangers man. Says Hearts have had too many draws and a couple of losses. They're collapsing. It's Celtic's title to lose now. I'm sad to admit it. Do you guys both think that all 3 of the title chasers will get 3 points at the weekend?
I'm not sure.
What's a different question?
Well, who do you think might drop points? Let me put up the fixtures again, just for everyone.
I think we're now getting to the meat and 2 veg part here, aren't we? Celtic.
The meat and 2 veg part.
Excuse me.
Celtic have done really well to get through a really potentially tricky part of the season. It's now about how they kick on from there. If they can go up to Tannadice at the weekend on Sunday, now I think that Hearts will take 3 points. I think Rangers will take care of Aberdeen. Whether or not Danny Rowe listens to my tactical advice, I still think they'll have enough. So I'm going for 2 home wins there. Then the onus and the spotlight goes on to Celtic on the Sunday. And I think we'll get a real indicator of where they are. Mick said at the last weekend it felt as if this was a big weekend for Celtic in terms of a shift of momentum, and I'm inclined to agree with that. But it only lasts until the next game. Right now, this is just the nature of the beast. I think if Celtic go up to Tannadice, really take care of business and back down the road with 3 points, I think you are starting to look at a significant plot twist. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're going to get from Celtic Tannadice. I'm not sure, and I wouldn't be astonished if they dropped a couple, and the whole thing starts to pivot again.
What do you think, Mick?
I actually fancy, the more I think about it, I actually fancy all three to win this weekend. But this season has had, I mean, I know it's a bit of like an easy way out, but anything could happen. When you're looking last week, Neil McCann taking points off Hearts. This week it's Stephen Presley back at Tynecastle. I mean, what are the chances of those two, McCann and Presley, both sticking a big stick in the spokes of the title?
By the way, Big Elvis thinks he gets a hard time off the Hearts fans for beating his chest when he was wearing a Celtic top. Oh my God! Can you imagine he goes there and derails the title?
Exactly, but I do fancy that. I fancy it. Yeah, I think the three of them. There's a lot of interesting dynamics because of the timing. Again, you get Hearts with a chance to strike first. Rangers at tea time is an awkward one on a Saturday night. Well, the cliche is that Aberdeen always give Rangers a game, but do they? I mean, Aberdeen are a team looking as though they're wheeling towards the summer. I know we got a new manager, but he's no miracle worker. But he was hoping to get something on the board, but I don't see it. I don't see it at Ibrox. And then Celtic, I think, Dun United and our team have been kind of, I'm not saying kind of crawling along or coasting, but they're seeming to be a wee bit kind of aimless this season. Losing 2 late goals last week was a disaster. And they've been played quite well for long periods and chucking a couple of late goals to their pals across the street. I think Celtic, I don't think any of these games are going to be straightforward 2 or 3-0 jobs. They're all going to be
nervous,
absolute battles and dramatic probably. So yeah, but I would maybe say all three will scrape by for another weekend.
There's no chance Aberdeen get anything at Ibrox. No, not this Aberdeen team. Surely not, Keith.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen Aberdeen teams go to Ibrox and get points in recent history, Daniel.
This Aberdeen team, though.
Not this Aberdeen team. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Look, they've got a new manager, and the first thing that Stephen Robson will make them is a harder team to play against, more difficult to get through. Rangers have got a problem creating chances. We've just been discussing it. So if Aberdeen come and put a robust defensive performance on and then hope to nick something in the break, who knows? I think that Aberdeen have been so poor all season. Even though that you'd like to think there'll be a new manager bounce, I don't know if he's working with a dead cat, you know? So how much of a bounce you get out of that, I don't know. And I just think, although it can work 2 ways, by both ways, the home crowd at Ibrox, you would think, gives Rangers a big advantage. But if Aberdeen do throw up the shutters and you're going an hour and it's still 0-0, the place will start to get a bit edgy, a bit agitated, and that could really help Aberdeen, and it could work against Rangers. So there's a lot on it. But I would think in terms of the quality that Rangers have got, they'll have enough to take care of Aberdeen.
Well, look, whatever happens, guys, we'll be here to cover it all on Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. But for tonight, I think that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for all the comments as ever. Keith, I think we're doing it a little bit earlier on Sunday. Is that correct? 4 p.m?
Yeah, let's do that, because it's early kickoffs, in it, and some of us have got to get ready for going on holiday.
Mick, will you be at the Celtic game? Will I be pestering you at Tannadice?
I'll be at Tannadice. Yeah, I'll be there. Back in duty. Yeah, and let's talk about Pompadom hams. I'm going to go and get some takeaway. I think that's my plan tonight.
You've earned it, Mick. You've earned it. Thank you very much for watching at home. Hope you can join us, as I say, at 4 p.m. on Sunday. We'll be back then. Guys, it's always a pleasure. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Thanks
Tandoori Manjaro.
Sign me up.